Well, we'd like to welcome back to our studio none other than Bob Keller from the Myokin Pain Relief Center in Newburyport. And Bob, good morning to you.
Good morning, Win. It's a pleasure to be back with you.
It's nice to have you, and I see that you have brought a guest with you.
I have brought Tom Connolly. And Tom, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Basically, I had a problem with my shoulders back at the end of May between a lot of different issues where I had trouble extending either one of my arms. I was having pain from behind my shoulders all the way down underneath my chest. And after seeing a few different people to try to relieve the pain, my wife recommended I go see Bob, and that's what I did back in the beginning of June.
Now, Bob, of course, Bob Keller from Keller Therapeutics, the Center for Myokin Pain Relief in New England, and it's right here on Water Street in Newburyport. And we just basically have another story of success for you here.
Well, thankfully we do. I might remind the listeners just what we're trying to do here with the Myokin techniques. As most people are not aware, the natural state of the body is to be pain-free and balanced. But as we go through life and we get bumped and stressed and injuries, we get unbalanced. And in fact, what I'm trying to do is to use some very simple muscular techniques to re-educate the nervous system to get back to that pain-free state. And it not only has to do with pain, but it has to do with posture. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring Tom is because he was very much an example of his system having gotten his body very much out of balance. One shoulder was considerably higher than the other when we started, and one hip certainly rotated further than one would like to see it.
Wow, I'm just trying to picture what that looked like in my head.
It wasn't pretty.
No? but I'm sure that those conditions just happened over time, huh?
It was a manifestation actually of when I was a child. I had hip herpes disease, where one leg was about a half an inch shorter than the other. Excuse me. I have recently had hip replacement surgery where both legs became the same length, and my skeleton became very confused.
Yeah, I've heard about that. You know, when people get their legs lengthened or shortened or you know, stuff like that. You know, well, I see it in athletes an awful lot. They don't. The reason they don't want to perform when they're hurt is that they don't want their bodies to learn bad motions. Exactly,
and that muscle memory is very strong once it sets in, and it takes an act of the central nervous system to forget that muscle memory, and that's what I'm trying to do, is to get rid of the old destructive memory and to instill new constructive patterns.
Well, Bob, I was wondering, maybe you can explain the type of treatment that you gave Tom?
Well, Tom was interesting also because he has both upper body and lower body issues, his hips and back, as well as his shoulders and neck. When he presented the first time, the main problem he was experiencing was pain in the upper body, in the neck and shoulder and back. And so that's what I treated first. And what I'm doing is treating all of the muscles that are innervated by a particular nerve root in the spine, in this case in his neck. Turned out to be the fourth cervical vertebra and nerve root. And by doing some very simple manipulations, moving his head and stimulating certain muscles, we were able, in fact, this blew me away when he came back for a second session. His shoulders weren't level, but they were pretty darn close. I couldn't believe it.
Wow. So, well, and then continue on when he had the second session,
and it continued then. I can't remember how many it took to really get the pain more or less completely relieved, but
it was 3 or 4, yeah.
3 or 4 sessions. But the effect was almost immediate, and it frequently is, and that's what I like to see.
Now, for folks who aren't familiar with the Myokin pain relief treatment's all about, it's a very simple thing if you know what you're doing.
Thank you. Practice, practice, practice.
That's how you get to Carnegie Hall. But yeah, why don't you explain how the treatment works?
Well, every nerve root in your spine innervates a certain number of muscles, and sometimes the muscles are innervated by multiple nerve roots. But what I try to do is to identify which nerve root is causing the pain or the imbalance, and then I treat all of the muscles that are innervated by that nerve root. In this case with Tom, there are, I don't know, 40, 50 muscles that we treat. And it's a very short treatment, 10, 15 minutes. Very gentle stretches I do on his muscles and stimulate them. And then he's up and running.
Were you running last night?
No, I didn't. No, I was never much of a running fan.
But what sort of limitations were you experiencing before we started the treatments?
Anytime I had to lift any weight with any extension of either one of my arms would cause a lot of discomfort, and it would generate so that during the night it would be very painful. Ibuprofen wasn't helping. Sometimes ice would help a little bit. But I was afraid to do anything basically with my upper body.
All right. Well, and now you've had this treatment, and how long have you been relatively pain-free?
I've been having the treatment since the beginning of June. I would say I've been pain-free since the middle of the end of June. And it's just ongoing, but I don't have any problem sleeping. There is no discomfort anymore.
So, Bob, it looks like, these types of treatments that you offer, they can take effect relatively in a quick amount of time.
They do a very quick time, and there are three outcomes we're looking for. One is reduction in pain or numbness. Wasn't the problem in this case. The other is increased range of motion, which we've certainly seen in Tom's neck and shoulders. And the other is increased function, so that you can function without pain back pretty much to a normal level.
Mm-hmm. And now, on top of that, too, what some people would be interested in knowing is that the Myokin treatments, you keep your clothing on, there's no oils, there's no incense or chanting or anything like that?
No, this is not in any way magical. I mean, I do certain kinds of energy work in other parts of my practice, but the Myokin is strictly Western medical model stuff. We treat the muscles and use that to re-educate the nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Anybody who's experiencing pain, whether their shoulders, their elbows, their hips, their back, upper back, lower back,
legs, feet, knees, whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything from top to bottom that's innervated by the peripheral nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
All those nerve roots that are in your spine.
Excellent. And your office is on Water Street.
We're at 166 Water Street. Appointments, we need appointments in order to see you. And by all means, visit our website, myokineast.com, myokineast.com. And in fact, I like WNVP so much that I even put a link on my website to WNVP. So if you click on that, you can immediately hear Win Damon.
Oh, how about that? Hey, thank you very much. Well, I'm glad that the treatment worked for you, Tom. And now, since you've been able to have that treatment done back from June, it's still July. It's not even August yet. Some of the things you've been able to do that you hadn't been able to do for a while?
I like to ride my bike. I ride a road bike, a mountain bike, and I hadn't been doing that. I don't know, couldn't figure out why that would aggravate my shoulders, but it did. And I have no problem doing that now, and I've been riding regularly again.
And now when you wake up in the morning, you're not as stiff as you used to be?
No, there's no issue at all, no.
Well, that's worth the price of admission right there. How about that? All right. Well, Bob, is there anything else you'd like to add about what's going on?
I am enjoying doing this work. It's one of the first things I've come across in my professional life that's fun, effective, socially responsible, and I'm having a ball.
Now, Tom, after your first treatment, when you went to see Bob again, what was it that you told him when you first saw him?
After my first treatment?
Yeah.
Well, there was some relief. It wasn't total relief. And Bob was happy with the shape of my shoulders, so I guess I hadn't paid as much attention as he did. And he thought it was progressing well, so I went back the second time, and things got better all the time.
But you could feel something right away.
Yes, you could, yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't, my mouth doesn't usually drop open when I see something, but when I saw Tom's shoulders and the way they'd shifted after that first treatment, I was blown away.
Wow, you must have a lot of interest in watching, in people watching. You can probably watch people, walking down the street.
Sometimes gets me in trouble.
You can say that person's shoulder's rotating, that person's hip is out of alignment.
Absolutely.
Boy, could I help them. Well, you certainly can.
978-465-5111.
Hey, that's a good thing. 978-465-5111. All right. Hey, Bob, thank you very much for joining us again today.
Thank you, Win. It's a pleasure.
And Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're feeling better and looking better. And your wife says you're probably a happier person, right?
That's right.
All right. We've been talking with Tom Connolly, who is one of the patients for Bob Keller over at Myokin, pain relief practitioner of the Keller Therapeutics, that is, the Center for Myokin Pain Relief in New England. That's I got to get that name down, don't I?
Practice.
Yeah, and I don't want to go to Carnegie Hall, but I want to get it right, though. It's the Center for Myokin Pain Relief in New England, Keller Therapeutics, and it's on Water Street, Newburyport. Bob Keller's our guest this morning here on the Legends, AM 1450 WNBP, WNBP.com.